This is a demo of the web visualization tool aimed to challenge that the visually impaired can perform only a limited number of occupations. This is done by illustrating the vast occupational capabilities of the working age persons who are visually impaired, by highlighting jobs where the blind has been employed and matching this to potential jobs that they can perform based on computing the similarities and skills required for those jobs. The tool has three visualizations, which we'll look at. First is the explore session, which we are seeing over here. And this session, first of all, shows all the jobs provided by the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics categorized into their 22 domains. These 22 domains are according to the standard occupational classification system, a federal statistical standard used to classify workers into occupational categories. The notes over here, just as shown, represent specific occupations, just as shown for all the nodes. And then each of the colors of the nodes corresponds to the classification or category of jobs that they belong to. So for example, zooming in here, we have a job, law teachers at the post-secondary level. And this is matched or linked onto history teachers, which is also linked onto secondary education teachers. So you see that jobs that are closely related by similarity in skills that were computed were closely clustered together and linked together. And each link, even highlighted over here, are linked to that job. And the distance between each link, between each node, corresponds to how closely related they are by skills. So for example, we also have your marriage and family therapists, strongly linked onto mental health counselors, also linked onto vocational rehabilitation counselor, which is highlighting that the skills that are required for this job are most likely very related or required for those other jobs. Now, so this mode just shows for all the different jobs that exist according to the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics. And then we can toggle into the blind mode, which now illustrates which of these jobs are occupied or are performed by the blind. So we see that just a few of them, usually cluster as certain sessions, have at least one blind person currently employed there. And we can see clearly other jobs that they can also perform. So for example, with this one, there are several other jobs that are not occupied by the blind that are closely tied onto it or linked according to similarities of skills. So this is the explore stage that shows a force-directed network graph of all these jobs, and they are links according to the computations by similarities. Next, a more relevant session to interact with is what we call the job search session. So this illustrates all the 22 major categories of the jobs provided, and then you can clearly see which of them have at least one blind person employed there. So for example, for all the jobs listed under protective service, there's not even one that is that has at least a blind person employed there. So this first gives a very good illustration of the distribution of jobs that are occupied by the blind in specific domains. Now, an important feature that we leveraged on pertaining to computing similarities was recommending jobs that a blind person can do if they have already been employed in a certain job or some other blind person has been employed in a certain job. So for example, I see this job over here, stocks, clerks, and sales. So when I double click on it, it now filters to show 8 other jobs that are closely related to that job according to the skills required for it. So that means if a blind person is working as a stock clerk, there's a good chance that the person can perform these other jobs. For example, a general food service worker, a fast food and counter worker, a cook that is in a private household, and also in other domains, housekeeping, because all of these show that these jobs are closely related to it by skills. Now, most importantly, we can have a ranking of these jobs. So that means for the job that I selected, these are the top 8 jobs closely related to it, where the first is the most close related to that job or the closest to that job. And then the last one is the least closest to that job in terms of ranking the top 8. So we see a general food service worker, housekeeping, laundry worker, cutters and trimmers by hand, lobby attendant, fast food, and counter workers. So with this, you can actually have a job recommendation system that can highlight the job potential of a blind person or visually impaired person in even other domains. Now, this was created from this data set that we are amalgamated based on 3 other data sets, where we had a data set of all the standard occupation classification codes of jobs and whether a blind person is working there or not, the actual job titles related to it. And then we have about 56 different skills, all with 2 different kinds of ratings. One is how important is that skill to that job, and how relevant is that skill to that job. And this data set was obtained from the ONET database, the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and also the Iowa Department of the Blind. These 3 data sets were merged to develop this data set that provided a matrix feature system for every specific job that was used to compute the similarities and generate this visualization. As you can see, there are added information for those jobs that is looking into the future. What is the projected employment? What's the projected growth? And then a description of that projected growth, and also even the current employment. And this is as of 2022. Thank you.